Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. Hi, I'm Ralph Lavella.
And I'm Ron Sen. There's an old Calvin and Hobbes bit where Calvin says, "I thrive on change." And Hobbes says, "Well, what about the other day you threw a fit when your mother put less jelly on your toast?" And Calvin says, "Oh, I thrive on making other people change." And we know that the constant in sports is change, whether it's players changing teams, franchises changing cities, coaches changing. And for the Celtics, Ray Allen changes to the black and red of the Miami Heat.
Yeah, you talk about change. We talked about Youkilis going to Chicago and things really working out well for him in Chicago, and things not working out well for the Red Sox. And you look at Allen. Allen's been with them for 5 years. They've had really 4 to 5 years they've challenged. They won one championship. And, I mean, the thing I look at, Ron, is the fans are 100% behind Allen. But Allen's looking at the situation. Ainge tried to trade him twice. He doesn't like Rondo. I told you that none of the veterans really like Rondo because he has an attitude. He thinks he's better, bigger than everyone else. These 3 guys have been playing for years. And, you know, Allen, you got a little of that from Allen. You know, he's not happy with Rondo. But going to Miami, I mean, what are you going to do? If he doesn't want to play with the Celtics. He kind of wants to burn the Celtics, so he's going to Miami.
Well, he acknowledged that he hadn't spoken with Rondo since the end of the season. Rondo likes playing with Bradley because he plays a more up-tempo game, and that works for Rondo, and as well as the defensive prowess that Bradley has. Now, Bradley had surgery initially on his left shoulder and then on his right shoulder. I think he had what's called the Bankard procedure, which I don't know how successful that is. They obviously, I don't think they would have done it unless they expected it to work.
Yeah, they're talking about December, but it was time for Allen to go, Ron. I mean, everybody, this Celtics knew it. I think he understands it. I mean, for him to get upset about coming off the bench and possibly coming off the bench this year if he signed with the Celtics, that's a perfect situation for him. He's 37 now. I mean, what does he want? I mean, he's not looking at the whole team. He's thinking about himself. You know, and let's face it, we talked about it last show. Most players are selfish. They care about themselves, number one. And, I mean, that's not a bad thing because you want to take care of your family, you want to make your money, you know, and then you want to be successful on a team. But the number one thing is you want to make the money. He's made a ton of money. He's felt that the Celtics have disrespected him. He wants to go to Miami and, you know, burn the Celtics. So.
Well, and there's something called attributional bias, where if you have success, you take the credit. If you have a problem, you blame the weather, you blame the officiating, you blame somebody else. And, you know, I think that the Celtics, realistically, when Bradley was healthy and playing at his best, that's when they played their best. And, you know, that's not a knock on Allen. Allen's a Hall of Fame player. He'll have records that maybe nobody's going to eclipse on three-point shooting. But I agree. I think it was just time for him to move on.
Yeah, I don't knock him at all. I mean, you look at that team. They have Terry now. They have Moore, who I really like. I'm hoping they give Moore a chance and Sullinger a chance because, I mean, I'm hoping that Rivers goes away from his, you know, he doesn't want to play young guys. And Sullinger should be starting over Bass.
Well, we'll get into more Celtics talk later. We've just passed the halfway mark of the baseball season with the lame All-Star game, and even worse, the home run derby. And the Red Sox are the proverbial Fortune 500 team. They're all making a fortune, and they're playing 500 at 44 and 44. Now, Peter Gammons apparently discussed on Radio 98.5 that John Lester doesn't like it here, he's unhappy, and he wants to go. And then Lester replied via Twitter that, no, I love Boston, I want to stay. With the trading deadline only a few weeks away, what do you think is going to happen?
You know, it really looks, I think they're going to give it a shot. I think they have Tampa Bay coming out. They see how they do against them. I know they're playing Detroit, Chicago. They have a tough schedule coming up. I think what they'll do is they'll look at the first 2 weeks. If they have a winning percentage record after that, after the first 2 weeks, they'll stay with the team they have. If they don't, then they may start making some moves. I think Beckett should be the first guy to go.
Well, back to the attributional bias, I know the Red Sox want to say, oh, it's injuries that have hurt us. Well, injuries play a role, but the biggest issue has been underperformance of so-called marquee players, and particularly the starting rotation. Beckett, Lester, Buchholz together have really, when they've been out there, not been very good.
They've had a terrible attitude, Ron. Even Buchholz. I mean, he gets a splinter and he has to sit out for a week or two. He's unbelievable. he came out about a month ago. He's worrying about his arm. He doesn't want to overdo. When they asked him if he could pitch one game when I think Beckett had to miss a start, and he goes, no. He goes, I need to rest.
Well, he had that gastrointestinal bleeding issue with his esophagus, and you don't know whether he was eating ibuprofen like M&Ms or whether there's other factors involved. But, and similarly, look the right side of the infield. Gonzalez hasn't been very productive. Pedroia's been hurt, but even notwithstanding, he really hasn't gotten much done offensively.
No, even last year. He went on a streak last year towards the end of the year to get his average up there, and then he went on a slump again. I mean, he hasn't really played that well. Defensively, he's still strong.
They have players that are chips if they decide to be sellers.
Ross is one of them.
Well, that was the first guy I was thinking of. The other guy is David Ortiz.
Yeah, Ortiz. But that's what we're talking about. I mean, he hugs everybody, right? But he'll go into a meeting of Francona and get on him about losing an RBI last year. Well, he'll walk out of a meeting that Valentine had a couple of weeks ago. He walked right out of the meeting.
Well, he waited.
That's supposed to be a team player.
He waited until he had his 400th home run before griping about his contract. The fact that he took a one-year deal means over a 2-year period he's going to get more money. Instead of taking 2 for 25, he'll end up with 28, 30 over the 2-year period.
He says it's all about the respect. They should have given him a 2-year contract for $14 million so he wouldn't have to worry about things. But he's going to get that again, especially if he goes to arbitration. He's going to get more than he got this year. He's going to get $15 million next year.
Exactly. So he comes out ahead.
And he's a cheater, too.
Well, and
he's a cheater. I mean, everybody's behind him. Who talks about the drugs he was taking, the steroids?
Well, nobody knows. As far as human growth hormone now, players are tested before the season, but there's no in-season testing. So there's no disincentive for players not cheat.
Ron, 2 years ago, he couldn't get around on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Couldn't get around on it. And now all of a sudden he's hitting balls. He's hitting 20-something home runs. His on-base percentage is up around 4, I think over 4. His slugging percentage is in the 600s. All of a sudden, 2 years later?
Well, he's certainly lost a lot of weight, gotten in much better shape. I like to think that has at least some role in his resurgence.
It makes you quicker?
Yeah, sure, if you're in shape.
So when you're 34 and you can't get around a fastball, now you're getting a little better shape, and that makes you get around
he's in a lot better shape. He must have lost at least 30 pounds. He looks dynamic relative to before. Now, another interesting story that came up this week is Bobby Valentine's movie, Pelotero, which stands for ball player, was an examination of practices of recruiting and coercion in the Dominican Republic. Now, naturally, Major League Baseball denies that this is going on, and yet everybody knows it had gone on. And the producers of the film say, we're happy to discuss it with Selig, but these are the facts. Basically they're saying some of the teams would say, nobody's going to allow you to play. They're going to challenge your age, but if you sign with us now, we'll make sure it happens for you.
And the age difference, too. You don't know how old they are. But how about that agent, the middleman that was caught with the steroids, giving steroids to the Dominican players? I mean, he was caught with it. I mean, there's a lot of problems down there.
It's not an insignificant problem with Major League Baseball because about 20% of the players in Major League Baseball are Latin, mostly from the Dominican. And anybody who watches, a lot of these players are the top players in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, what do these guys have in common? Sosa, Gonzalez, Ramirez, Ortiz, A-Rod, Colon. What do they all have in common? Look at Colon last year.
Well, a lot of them had the same trainer, supposedly.
They had the same trainer agent when they were signing. They all, they were all on it. The steroids, it's proven.
Well, Carl Crawford has done almost nothing in a year and a half for the Red Sox, and looks like he needs Tommy John surgery now.
He's thinking, how can I get by these next 6 years without doing anything and getting $20 million a year? Because he doesn't want any part of playing with the Red Sox.
I don't really blame Crawford at this point. He's worked hard to rehab, but it's just not happening for him. And I don't think anybody thinks Jacoby Ellsbury is going to re-sign with the Red Sox. So if he came out and got hot for 2 weeks, he might be an ideal trading chip. He's got the very difficult agent, the best at what he does, Scott Boras, and he's going to be looking for $20 million. And I can't see the Red Sox giving it to him he's hardly ever on the field.
Well, they may be looking at it. The Red Sox may be looking at it. Ellsbury, Ross, and Beckett or Lester in a deal. So 3 of them. Ross, Ellsbury, and one of those 2 pitchers, probably Beckett. I think Lester will turn things around when Beckett goes. You know, and who can they get for them? That's going to be the key.
I know the other guy who's I think likely to go is Kelly Shopik because they can bring up Lavarnway seamlessly to do what he does. Lavarnway's either the future backup catcher or maybe the DH after Ortiz.
Yeah, they're thinking about, but they're not going to get much for him. But he may
No,
deal.
I think Lavarnway's the player they want to
No,
get.
I'm talking about
Shopik, right.
Shopik will be putting a deal with another player. But they got to look at it. I mean, they let too many guys go, and then now they have problems. When they got Gonzalez, 4 of their top prospects, they had to trade for him. I mean, they have some good prospects, a center fielder down there in Double-A.
Right, Jackie Bradley's in Double-A. He had 485 on base percentage in A, and he's doing really well in Double-A. The other guy that's potentially a trading chip is Daniel Bard. You know.
Well, a team might take a chance. I mean, remember we talked about Youkilis? Last year we said if Youkilis gets healthy, you know, he's going to be a plus for some team.
Well, a lot of pitchers around the league are standing behind Bard and saying it's the Red Sox fault. Last time I checked, Bard was the one who wanted to be a starter. It's not the Red Sox fault.
How's it the Red Sox fault? I mean, if they change his delivery, maybe. But how's it the Red Sox fault from the... All right, they're going along with him being a starter, even though he had problems years ago as a starter. So what does that make him? Now he can't throw the ball over the plate because he's a starter? And what are these people, sick? They're all looking for excuses.
Well, you know, he's probably been playing baseball since he was 8 years old. And he's 25, 26 years old now, and in his limited minor league time, he's had 6 wild pitches, 6 hit batsmen, and his ERA is almost 9.
But do you wonder about that? You pitched, right?
Right.
You pitched in high school. I mean, I pitched in high school, and I pitched in the 35 and over league. I could always put the ball where I wanted to.
Well,
I mean, and these guys are pros. How can they not?
Well, back in the late 60s, early 70s, it was so-called Steve Blast disease, where it's almost like a temporary mental block for guys to be able to throw the ball. After that, it was Steve Sachs, and the Yankees had Chuck Knobloch. The Mets, I believe, had a catcher named Mackie Sasser, but it all goes by this sort of this mental block on being able to throw the ball where you want it. The Red Sox had a pitcher, Matt Young. He couldn't throw to a base to save his life. And even Clemens didn't really like to throw to bases very much.
So it's got to be a mental. It has to be.
Right. It's strictly a mental thing. So if you have a mental problem, you know, you have to approach it. You can't just say, go out and throw the ball for an hour. You got to deal with it. I remember watching Knobloch on a play. He made a play at second base. He makes the catch, you know, grabs the ball, and he's throwing to first. He looks at the ball. He's looking at the ball. I mean, instead of looking where he's throwing the ball.
And you know, a lot of kids, you know, I saw that in Babe Ruth when I coached Babe Ruth in high school. The same thing. A lot of kids, well, if they're throwing the ball in infields, they're throwing it to the first baseman, but they're not throwing it to a target. You know, and we used to always do a drill at the end of practice where you start off short throws and you have to hit the glove without your teammate moving it 3 times, and then you move back another 10 steps. You have to hit it 3 times before practice ends. Then you did your long toss. You had to hit it 2 times. But I mean, you're throwing to a target. So you look at these pros, and like you said, Knobloch and Sachs. I mean, from second base, they couldn't throw it to the first baseman.
Right. Well, it has to be a mental problem because these guys are professional athletes who've honed their craft, and then they can't do it. Performance anxiety, whatever.
It's amazing, though, what Bard's going. I really feel bad for him. I really do.
Well, I don't think anybody said he's a bad guy.
No.
Now, first of all, first question is, will the Red Sox make the playoffs? My answer before the season, mid-season, September 1st is no.
My answer was, yeah, they'd make it, because I said every baseball season has like 6 different seasons in it. But it seems like, I mean, don't forget, up until the past 2 or 3 weeks, they were playing great baseball. Then all of a sudden, they go on that West Coast trip, and they can't get a win, you know, out there. And then the Yankees beat them 3 out of, I mean, what were they, 2-5 out there?
I just think that
they look terrible against the Yankees.
In addition to the mediocre pitching, a lot of their defense isn't very good. You see guys who, you know, they don't make overt errors. They just don't make good plays.
You know what it is, Ron? They don't have the edge. No, there's too many people knocking them, number one, because of last year. they just don't have the edge anymore. They don't have, we talk about with our kids, confidence, how important it is. I don't think they have the confidence anymore.
Well,
they don't care.
Look at a guy like Aviles. He had a really hot start, 9 homers early. He hasn't done anything.
Because he's not
now.
a starter. It always happens with players like him.
It's true.
When you play too much, it catches up with you.
You get exposed
Same thing with Nava. It's starting to catch up with him. He's shown he's not an everyday player.
Well, that's right. And that's why when people say, well, blame Bobby Valentine, he's got a AAA lineup out there. He's got Siriaco out there, Nava.
Who impressed me.
Siriaco has looked good. And if you're going to be a Dominican player or a minority, a lot of times you can't be an ordinary player. You got to be better than average to get, like, one of my favorite players, I know you don't feel the same way all the time, is Cano. I love Cano. I think he's a really good player. And, I don't know if he's taken something, but he's got a lot of pop in his bat.
I'll tell you, yeah, he's changed. I mean, he's been the reason why they're in first place. He's the #1 reason. He went through a stretch there, 10 games, where he was knocking in a big run every game. And that's when they went on that stretch where they won 10 in a row. And it was mainly because of him. And then the thing that amazed me is I told you how Donovan Teixeira in big games, he hit pretty good against the Red Sox. He had that one real good game, and then another game he hit pretty good. That's why I'm down on him. If he hits like that, then the Yankees are a different team. But the problem with him is the last 3 playoffs, he's hit under 200.
Well, second half is upon us. We'll be right back.
Athlete Training Tips by Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Scott Duggan, Athletic Evolution here, and I'm back with Athlete Training Tips of the Week. Today we're going to cover some mobility, some core work, and a corrective exercise for squats. One of the most common injuries in sports, all sports, is the ankle. So that's one of the major reasons why every day we start off our athletes' workouts with a mobility exercise focusing on the ankle, trying to increase that range of motion in the ankle joint. So phase 1, what we're going to do is we're going to start the athletes on one knee. I'm going to tell them to keep their heel planted on the ground, and they're going to try to drive their knee as far forward as they can without picking that heel up off the ground. So what we want to see is a nice rocking motion back and forth. I don't want to see the heel come up, and that's one reason why we'll start them off in a kneeling position, because that does a much better job of keeping their heel on the ground. Usually we'll do 5 to 8 reps forward, and then I'm going 5 to 8 reps over the big toe and 5 to 8 reps over the little toe the whole time, trying to get a little bit further each time, increase that range of motion, and without picking my heel up off the ground. Major problems we'll see here, basically the only thing we'll see is just picking that heel up off the ground, or them just kind of staying stagnant and not getting too much range of motion. Usually what I like to tell them is imagine, how you'd rock a baby, nice and easy, back and forth. So once they've kind of got the concept down of keeping their heel on the ground, then we're going to progress them to a standing. Oh, excuse me. So we're going to progress them to a standing ankle mobility. So all they're doing now is the same exact thing, only they're not on one knee. So they really need to focus now on keeping that heel on the ground. But by standing, it allows us to get a lot more range of motion. Like I said, we're going forward, over the big toe, and then over the little toe. All right, I'm back here. What we're gonna go over next is one of our main core exercises here. Usually perform this in our first superset with hang cleans. This is called a half kneeling stability lift. So what we're doing here first, obviously, is we gotta cover the half kneeling position. So we want our toe dug in the back. We don't want our butt back. We want to make sure our hips are all the way through. Squeeze our butt to make sure they're through. And then our front leg, we want to create that nice 90-degree angle. We don't want to be too close to our body or too far away. Stabilize ourselves nice and easy here. We're going to start. Usually most athletes will start with a 25-pound plate. We have a lot of college athletes that will go up to a 45-pound plate. We're going to start with the plate right on our hip. And it's 2 motions. Keep it nice and tight to the body, right up to our chest, and then press it all the way up. What we want to do is we want the athlete to follow the plate with his eyes. The whole time, make sure your arms lock out at the top. And then for the lower body, a lot of things we'll see here is the hips go from side to side. This is a core exercise, so we want to make sure our hips are locked nice in place and we don't rotate one side or the other to compensate the plate moving from one direction to the other. So one more time, dig the toe in the back, nice heel on the ground, 90-degree angle, plate right at the side of our hip, 2 motions right to our chest, keep it close to the body, lock the arms out at the top, back down to the hip each time. All right, the last thing I'm gonna go over today is a corrective exercise to get down our squat. So whether we have an athlete doing a front squat or a back squat, and we have some major problems, we're gonna use this as a corrective exercise to pattern their form and correct those deficiencies to get them in a nice, good squat position that we want. So once we load the weight, they've now created a safe environment for themselves, because that's the #1 issue we stress here, is we don't want them to get injured doing any of our lifts. We want them to constantly get better. So the main problems we'll see on a squat is, 1, the knees coming too far forward as they squat down. We want them to keep the weight on their heels also, and that's usually connected. So usually if the knees come forward, the heels come up, and now they're not activating their glutes and driving through their heels. So we want to make sure at the bottom, the weight's on their heels and they push their butt back to get those knees over their heels and the weight on their heels. In addition to that, we want to make sure the athlete is keeping their chest up. On front squat, usually if they don't keep their chest up, the weight will just dump forward. You'll see this a lot on back squat for athletes that don't have great hip mobility, or they just haven't patterned the exercise yet. When they come down, their chest will start to come forward, and that's putting a huge strain on their lower back. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a kettlebell and have the athlete hold it right at his chest. What this is gonna do is this is gonna force the athlete, just like a front squat, to keep that weight up by keeping his chest up. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna position a box behind him, and we want him to step away from the box. We don't want him to sit at the box on the bottom, we just want him to touch the box. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cue the athlete to push his butt back and reach for that box. That way his weight is now shifting onto his heels, and now he can drive through those heels and activate those glutes. And last thing, we want to position the box where it's going to get that athlete down to 90 degrees. Some athletes have problems getting down to 90, or they just don't understand what 90 degree is. So that box is going to allow them to feel what 90 degrees is like. So they'll just come down and gently tap the box. So what we're going to do is hold the kettlebell right at our chest. We're going to push our butt all the way back, tap, and come all the way up. My chest stays up, the weight's on my heels. I push my butt back and then stand all the way up, driving through my heels. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. That's it for Athlete's Tip of the Week. I'll see you guys next time.
Athletic Evolution staff of energetic, motivated, and certified professional strength coaches will help you get to the level you aspire to achieve. At Athletic Evolution, it starts with a purpose and ends with your success. Visit our website or drop into our training facility at 78B Olympia Avenue, Woburn, Mass. Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Ray Allen, out the door, taking his talents to South Beach. What do you know? Even though the Celtics offered him more money, he decided, you know what, during a little text-a-thon with Kevin Garnett, he said he was leaning towards signing with Miami. Well, Ray, perhaps you should have texted Johnny Damon or Dave Roberts, because you know what? If you remember him, that utility man whose single but important stolen base earned him immortality around these parts, along with the unwritten status that states he will never buy another drink in this town again. And why is that, Ray? Well, we're pretty passionate about our sports around here and about our players. And you left us for Miami. For Miami, where NFL great Dan Marino could probably walk on South Beach and no one would even recognize him. They would probably think he's David Hasselhoff and ask him for an autograph. You think their fans care? Please. Bob Greasy is in the Hall of Fame. He took the Fins to 2 Super Bowls for wins, and he can't even get recognized down there unless it's a college sports fan. He can't even get into the bar for somebody to not buy him a free drink for what he did with the Dolphins. Anyway, in reality, you're a Celtic, you're free to go anywhere. Just don't go to the most hated team in the league, Ray, and play with the most hated player in the NBA, who I won't even say his name. Think about this. When you leave the Red Sox, as Johnny Damon found out, you can go anywhere, just don't go to New York like he did. Because you know what he found out? He found out what the other returning players didn't find out. You know those guys that played on the 2004 squad and left, and then they came back and they got to tip their cap for standing ovations and all kinds of applause. Everybody loved them. Damon, 2 straight minutes of boos, like the apocalypse rained down on him, like he killed somebody. What did he do? He signed with New York. Well, you know what? You don't leave this town and play with the hated teams, you know, the Jets. You think Patriots could leave here and go play with them? Give it some thought, Ray. What's coming your way? Is it fair? Nobody says what's fair. Was it fair to Johnny Damon? Was it fair to Roger Clemens? 3 Cy Youngs. He ended up in New York. We were rooting for his indictment. We were psyched. We wanted to see him go to jail. That's how passionate we are. I get it, though, Ray. Your feelings were hurt. Perhaps because you were dangled in trade offers a couple of times, and at one point you were out the door. They told you were gone. Didn't end up happening. I know you must have been crushed. Perhaps your feelings were hurt when you started to follow other guys onto the court like Avery Bradley and know that they were starting over you. Maybe it really bothered you when the Celtics thought you might be gone and they went out and signed Jason Terry instead. Then you realize you might not be starting over Bradley or Terry, but you're definitely going to lose minutes to both of them. And then the Rondo thing. Maybe you do hate his guts. Maybe you just can't stand playing with him. So much so that was it. You said, I'm out of here. And maybe you didn't get along with Doc because, after all, you're a future Hall of Famer, aren't you? No one has ever scored more 3-pointers than you. How dare Doc Rivers not start you? And then Pat, the devil, Lucifer Riley, wines and dines you, and like a 12-year-old with a crush on a cheerleader, you chased after him and said, Pat, I'll sign. Because that ring is more important. Because after all, winning it with these guys that you've died with for 5 years, Paul Pierce, KG, that's not enough for you to win a ring. You'd rather go rent one with LeBron and Wade and whoever else that they're going to sign and bring in. Because is that it? The ring is important? You'd rather be a renter player when you're out there scoring about 8 points a game, putting in maybe about 6 minutes a game? That's going to be enough for you, huh? When we hear you whining in the papers sometime next early spring, I digress. You might have thought you knew how passionate Boston sports fans were, Ray, but you will find out. Because guess what? I have a distinct feeling that you should be texting Johnny Damon right now and asking him, was it really that bad? And his answer will probably be, yeah. And with that, don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. See you later, bye.
Welcome back to our sports conversation. With us again tonight is Sarah McGowan, one of Melrose High School's elite athletes and also an outstanding student. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So we understand you've been playing some high-level volleyball lately. Tell us about that.
I have. Since our very last game in November, after the state championships, I went to tryouts the next day for a club called Smash that's based out of Newton, Mass. And that's when it started, so I had about a week's rest after high school volleyball. And then I went right into playing for Smash, and I just ended a week ago.
Now, is that the elite program around, Smash?
Yes, I would definitely say that was the elite program in Massachusetts because their 18s team, the top 18s team, was the best team in New England pretty much this year. So.
Were you on that team?
No, I was on the 17s team.
17 team?
There's 2 18s team and 3 17s teams. So that's good.
Now, to play in that program, you can't play other sports, right? You can't play
you have to
winter
be
sport.
fully committed, and they really don't even want you playing spring sports, but if you can balance it, then they'll let you, but they really want you just to focus on volleyball and really put like all your time and effort and really be committed to the team because they take it that seriously. So.
Well, one of the organizers in that program has the greatest name in the history of volleyball, Judy Slamman. So anyway, and obviously there's a lot of Newton North
Yeah.
input in that program. Whom Melrose is going to play at Melrose this year.
Our senior night is against Newton North at Melrose, and I think it's going to be a very tough game because their setter is committed to Bucknell. She was on the top 18s team for Smash, and then their middle hitter was on my team for Smash. So
Where did they end up last year? What division are they in? One?
they're in one, and they made it to the finals for the North, but then
Central beat them?
no, I don't think Central. Central's no. Who beat them? I'm not sure. Brookline. Brookline beat them. Brookline beat them. This was in the like.
Oh, in the
the
North.
Yeah, the
Right.
North finals. They beat them. They got beat.
Well, there's a very attractive volleyball season this year.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm really looking forward to the season because we have 7 returning who are going to be seniors. Well, we have 10 returning this year, and 7 of them are seniors, which is a very big deal because not most teams get that many seniors back, and we all played every single game practically, so it's pretty much a returning team besides Jill and Alyssa, which were like our big players, but I definitely think we have people who can fill those roles.
Who ended up number 1 last year? Was it Barnstable or was it Marlboro?
Barnstable,
Then Marlboro was 2?
and then Marlboro.
And you had that great match against Marlboro
Yeah.
in the finals.
That was a tough match.
It was a great match.
It was a
Nice.
good match, but we could have beat them, I think, definitely.
You know, the funny thing about that match is I thought that's the best volleyball I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
We
that
played-
Match, I mean, you played to the best of your
Yeah.
ability in that match. I mean, was it the second and third sets? They were unbelievable.
Yeah.
The one you won, and then
Though,
You-
it came so close in the second. I think that was definitely the turning point,
Yeah.
was the second and third games because they were so close that, like, it could go either way. And I think that's where, like, all the momentum went, definitely, for them, so.
For those of you who don't know, Sarah was one of the few Melrose players who's been named All-State in volleyball last season as a junior, along with Brooke Bell. So, you know, it's very reasonable to expect a big season from Melrose. And I've always believed you needed 3 strong hitters. And last year we probably didn't quite reach up to that level, but you know, I hope that we have it this year.
Yeah, I definitely think we have girls to fill that hitting role this year. Like, Jen got so much better at Smash. Like,
now will Jen play?
Big hitter.
What is it?
she'll play outside, definitely.
She'll play outside?
And she's so good at back row that he'll just keep her in the whole game, I think.
Now, where you're so deep, I know you want to play the whole game. I mean,
Yeah.
you're so talented, and your team's so deep, and I know Coach Kelly's trying to give everybody who's
Playing
really
time.
talented a chance
Yeah.
to get in there. But at times I saw you sitting.
Yeah.
How'd you take that? Have you talked to Coach Kelly?
I've definitely told him before that I want to play back row, but I mean, he always tells us it's like you do what's best for the team, and I knew that I'm not as strong as back row as Amanda Committo was, or like Alyssa. Alyssa was an unbelievable libero. Like, I don't think we could have asked for anyone better than that. So I was happy when she would go in because I knew that was what was best for the team, even though I wouldn't have. I would love to play, but
Well, now
Yeah.
playing against Marlboro, did you need that rest where you were every play was so
yeah.
important?
I think I needed that rest.
Because he didn't take you out too much. He
No.
took you out to give you a quick breather, and you came
Yeah.
right back in most of the time.
I definitely felt like I needed it at points because Brooke usually would go to, like, she usually goes to me when I'm up in the front row. And then, because I feel like in the middle you have so many more options you can hit, because when you're outside you can just go straight cross court, but like in the middle you get both angles. And I think that definitely is a big advantage. And we both like realized that.
Are you thinking about the quick set now?
Yeah,
I know
I think we're going to try that this
some
year.
teams did that against you. The semifinal match.
They did
was
that
it West-
every single
was it-
play.
Was it Westboro or what team? Middleborough? What team did you beat in the
Well,
semifinal?
Lincoln Sudbury did a little bit of it.
Yeah, Lincoln
But,
Sudbury did
you know,
that.
I know Coach Shelley likes to go with what's working. I'm a believer that if you don't have monstrously big players,
Yeah.
that you really need to use more variety, like the quick
Yeah.
set.
I definitely think too, it's like we've always gone with a high 2 in the middle because you have a better chance, a higher percentage of getting it in rather than going up there and say Brooke and I don't connect and she doesn't give it right where I need it, then you kind of end the play.
Right.
It's harder to get over.
That's what happened in that semifinal match. They tried to do it a number of times, and the
And
girl
it
was
just
sitting right
wasn't
in net. It
working.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, there was one year back in 2004 that Reading took a match from us, largely based on
The middle.
running
She
the two.
came up and no one was.
Right.
You really have to time them very
Right.
well.
So
to
it,
block that,
you
so.
need to have great timing and coordination for that to
Mm-hmm.
work. But now Melrose has a terrific home schedule this year.
Yeah.
You have Reading, you have Central, Brockton,
Newton North.
Newton North. There's a big
All at
game.
home?
Yep.
Big game at Westboro. So there should be a lot of terrific volleyball this season.
Well, this season you want to play all the top teams. I mean,
Yes.
you're so strong.
I want to
mean,
have
that's
the
gonna make it
hardest
better.
schedule we can to
Now,
make
what
us
was-
better.
Did you play middle hitter and
Yep.
smash too?
For
Or did they move
Smash,
you
I
around?
started in the middle, but I'm more on like the shorter side for the club because a lot of those girls are going to play in college. Pretty much when we went to nationals, every single 17s team that we played had at least 3 girls who were Division I like committed already as juniors. So I was definitely on the shorter side of the middle, so they put me outside for the second half of the season.
Now, do you feel stronger now? Do you leg?
Yeah.
Because I know you had mono.
Yeah,
so
that
you're
took a
back.
while to get back. That was like right in the middle of the Smash season. I missed 2 months and I missed my tennis season, but it definitely took a while to like recover from that because I couldn't do anything. Like I would ask my mom, "Can I go on a run?" And she would always say no. Like you can't do anything. So I got back and I could barely jump like that high off the ground.
And
So
now you're getting up there.
yeah, now it's like right back. It
So
would
you-
just take a while to.
Now
Like,
you're real confident in your spikes. I mean, you were
Yeah.
last year. I mean, well,
yeah.
towards the end. I mean, just about everyone was going in. I mean, so you're really comfortable at
Mm-hmm.
that end of it.
Now you're going to be mixing it up between hitting middle and outside anyway, no matter which position you play.
Yeah,
So you're going to do some slide attacks from the outside. And,
definitely.
and then, of course, you have Rachel Johnson, who will be a senior this year.
Yep.
Had a terrific year in the middle. And I don't know what's going on with younger players right now. So,
We definitely have. There's the 3 sophomores who are going to be juniors who are returning: Cassidy, Jill, and Maeve. And
They're all defensive players, right?
yeah, but Jill McGinnis, I think she's going to play outside
She
this
wants
year.
to. I know.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a battle for the outside of who wants
Well, you have
to
Sydney
play.
Doherty too.
Yeah,
Who's-
there's so many girls who can
She showed
fill
a
that
lot.
position. Yeah, like it definitely just depends on what goes on in tryouts and who really like.
Have you
comes
talked to
to play.
Kayla at all?
Yeah,
is she
Kayla's working on the right side. We definitely need her out there because she's a big blocker.
If she improves as much as Rachel Johnson improved last year and can give you that, I mean, it's going to be. That's
Yeah,
gonna be-
I think we're going to be unstoppable at points. So
And then your league's getting better. You know, teams like Winchester and Burlington, I mean, they're
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
getting better. So, I mean, you hate to see, you know, you're going to kill those teams you kill, you don't get anything out of it.
yeah,
But I know Burlington and Winchester did improve.
they definitely did. Burlington definitely improved.
well, the worst part of this season, hopefully other communities are not watching, is expansion volleyball, which
Yeah.
tends to be not. I can't imagine it's very much fun to play games that are not competitive.
Yes, I agree with that definitely, and I think that's why Mr. Trelli schedules so many of the out of league games so we can get better competition at times because.
Now, is Fenwick home or away this year?
Fenwick's away, and Arlington Catholic is away. The game that's usually on the Saturday morning, that's at Arlington Catholic this year, which
Have you ever seen their gym?
I've seen both of their gyms, and I do not like either one of them. They're just too dark and old, and there's not like enough space to run.
Well, you have a beautiful gym now.
Oh my gosh,
And it's unbelievable.
I love our gym. It's like perfect, the atmosphere and everything.
But your home schedule is going to be terrific,
Yeah.
so that's going to be fun.
I'm
Well,
really excited for
I mean, Reading is it the opening game?
second game.
All right, second game.
That was
So-
a great match last year.
Yeah, that was really fun.
And I don't know if anybody knows whether Olivia Healy's going to be playing for Reading yet or not.
Oh, with that scholarship.
Right, she has
Yeah.
a scholarship to Richmond to play basketball, so I don't know how that impacts her plans.
Yeah, I bet she'll focus.
Well, you
on
hope
it
she
as
plays,
well.
though.
I hope she plays because
O'Brien plays for them too,
Yep.
right?
she does, and Hannah Conroy. She's
It's
their
nice
setter.
beating them, you know, where they beat us
Yeah.
in basketball all the time, those girls.
I love having that one sport that you can get back at all the same girls.
Now, you're going to be able to play tennis next year? Are you going to do
Yeah.
that?
Definitely.
What if you get a scholarship in volleyball? You still going to want to play?
Yeah, because I'm committed to the team.
You're not going to get it
so.
hurt either, and you're the #1 player, right? You're
Yeah, I wouldn't really.
You love it?
Yeah, I love it still. So, it's a good sport. It's a good sport. Like, it's a really team-oriented sport. We get really close, and it's always fun, even if we don't win every single match. Just to be out there, it's like such a good form of exercise, and it even helps volleyball. So.
Well, the other point to emphasize is that Sarah's an outstanding student. She's always on the honor roll, or at least I see her name there a lot. And that's what we like to see, the students being successful in the classroom as well as on the court.
Yeah, how's your sister doing?
Good.
Where's she going to school?
Boston College.
Oh, BC.
She loves it. She joined the rugby team. She's on the women's top rugby team. They don't have a varsity team because you have to have an equal balance of like men and women's sports. So it was put down to a club varsity, but
She still have all her teeth?
yeah, she does. My parents didn't like going to those games, but they had to. It was a little scary, but.
Is there any advice you have for younger players coming along, especially since this was the first week of the volleyball camp and a lot of kids showed up there?
I actually gave them all my group a talk. I worked with the 7th graders this week, and I was the leader of that group.
Incoming 7th graders?
Yes, incoming 7th graders. And I told them all to stick with volleyball because it was one of the most successful programs in the high school. Great coach, like great atmosphere, community oriented and everything. And it's just so much fun.
Now,
Like-
our last show, we talked about basketball and volleyball, and I said, why do girls love volleyball over basketball? And we talked about, and my daughter saw the show, so I heard it from her, who played for Coach Kelly. And I said, is it because that basketball is harder to be good at than volleyball? And my daughter said to me that the reason why people enjoy volleyball, number one, you were right, Coach Kelly and
Yeah.
Coach Waller just great with the kids, but she said number two, she goes, I played basketball too. You learn so much more at one of Coach Kelly's practices than you did at basketball. Not knocking the basketball coach,
know.
it's just different. I mean, is that true? Is that why you improved that
Something
much quicker?
new every day. He has so many strategies that, like, I don't even know where he comes up with them from, but he knows the game so well and wants to, like, share with us and really help us expand our knowledge on the game. And that's why I think we've become so good, is because he wants us to see it like he does. And even
Right.
like the other day, I was talking to the Medfield coach, which is a very good team as well.
Yeah.
And he said that we see the court better than any other team in the state. And I agree with that because he's taught us not to, like, if it's a bad set, why would you just go up there and swing at it as hard as you can and hit it into the net when you could just tip it? And that's what he's taught us, I think, to just see all the open spots, which is like the best strategy you can have practically. So.
Yeah, but she was, she really got on me about that because she said to his practices, he says, I remember walking down the corridor in school, going to my next class, and bumping into him.
Yeah.
And both, he'd look at her, and she'd look at him, and yeah, I'm ready for practice. I mean, are you excited every day to go to practice?
Everyone looks forward to practice. Like, even if you have a bad day in school, your like whole attitude and mood changes once you walk in the gym. Like, so fun. Everything about it is awesome. Even everyone says that. They're like, I look forward to going to volleyball practice. Like, it's not a punishment. It's like, I want to be there. Like, even sometimes we say we're like, I'd rather play 10 practices than one game against like someone in the Middlesex League, because when we scrimmage, it's so competitive and it gets so fun.
Do you scrimmage every practice?
Yeah, every
Well,
practice
yeah,
we
the-
scrimmage, and it's
Yeah,
like,
the reserve players on Melrose would be the second or third best team
oh yeah,
in the league.
In the league. So
Oh,
it's like
right.
better competition than we get in a game. So that's why we all look forward to going and like challenging each other every day and pushing each other, because you never know which team is really going to win. So
I saw a JV game. I think it was the Reading Melrose JV game. It was one of the best games I've
Yeah.
seen. It was unbelievable.
JV team
the
is-
talent.
yeah, the way they build up the program is probably like the smartest I've seen, because even bringing in all those girls K through 8 and starting them at that young of an age, like, you know you're going to have people to come up in the years, and you'll have so many girls you can use and bring up and be ready to play at the varsity level before they even, like, I started when I was in 7th grade. These girls are starting in kindergarten. Like,
Yeah, our
So
girl daughter
smart.
started as a freshman.
Right. So they
Yeah.
never
That's
saw
how
a
it was back
volleyball
then.
before freshman year. So
it's like,
Do you have any schools looking at you right now? Have anybody
Um,
contacted you?
yeah, I'm looking at a lot of the NESCAC schools, definitely. trying to go there because I want a smaller school, but at the same time, very competitive volleyball. And
Now,
sometimes
what teams are in, what schools are in that? Is it St. Anselm's in them?
it's like Connecticut College, Trinity, Bowdoin, Bates.
Well, Hannah Brickley's had a great
Yeah,
career at Trinity,
she's done
and
so
she's
well.
talking about playing basketball now,
Yeah.
too.
It's definitely, I definitely want to go there too, to a NESCAC school, because they keep in mind that they want you to still do well in school and really focus on school rather than just focus on your sport and have that be your job, like at a Division I school. So I definitely want to do that, like both school and sports. I think the NESCAC schools really offer that. So.
Great.
Well, it's the 40th anniversary of Title IX this year, so it's appropriate that you'll be another Melrose athlete succeeding on the playing fields. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck, Sarah.
Thank
We'll
you.
be back.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court. With a year-round training philosophy, BBG can assist you in reaching your full potential as a player with conditioning, basketball fundamentals, position-specific training, and skills and drills taught by the best coaches in New England. For more information, visit our website at visionarybasketball.com or drop into our new athletic performance center located at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. VBG, complete your vision.
Welcome back. Now, Ralph and I are not the same as coaches. Ralph's more like Vince Lombardi. He's ferocious. He'd run the same play 70 times during a game and try to bludgeon you. I'm more early 60s Sid Gilman, San Diego Chargers. I favor innovation and trickery, not just bludgeoning the other team. But that brings us to the Patriots. Here's an interesting stylistic approach. You had two Patriot figures making big news during the week, Rob Gronkowski and Robert Kraft. What can you say? First, Kraft with heir apparent Ricky Lander, 32-year-old blonde bombshell. Wow, I don't even get that at all.
That's amazing. I'm hoping they're just friends. That's what I'm hoping. I know he took her to a Celtic game, and he said, this is my friend, my pal. This is my pal. But doing that, what was it, that, I guess she was rehearsing with him?
Right, he was reading Vince Vaughn's lines or something. I don't know.
And they were dancing, and he was doing a dance, and it was kind of embarrassing. But, who knows? Maybe it's, it's just someone he's trying to help. Hopefully his kids have a little talk with him, his three sons.
Well, I guess when you're 72 years old, maybe he's saying you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I have to live for today.
Who would you rather be, Robert Kraft or Gronkowski?
Well, Gronkowski's on the one of the covers of ESPN, The Body magazine, and Gronkowski, if you didn't believe in a higher power or something, if you look at Gronkowski's picture, talk about a Greek god, unbelievable.
I think everyone likes Gronkowski, female, male. I mean, he's a character and a half. He's enjoying himself. He's a great player. He's worked extremely hard. You can tell he works on his body. That's
Well, he's
for
not a
sure.
stranger to the workout room.
And the
that's
women
for
love
sure.
him too, because he's just a great guy who just likes having a good time.
Have you ever seen a physique like that? I mean, unbelievable.
Was he 6'7"?
Something like that. It's unbelievable. He must
The
be
best. Could be one of the best. Probably one of the top 5 football players
right.
in
And
the NFL right now.
And he's, well, we can talk about that. This week, the top 100 players as voted by their peers came out, and number 1, 2, 3 were Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady. And there was an interview on the NFL network, I believe, with Warren Sapp and Deion Sanders, and Sapp and Sanders just said, "Are you kidding me? Brady had the 31st ranked defense. He gets to the Super Bowl, and he's within one catch of winning it."
Yeah, Brady, what Rodgers has and Brees, we talk about that again. Rodgers and Brees, they have the receivers. More than one receiver can go downfield quickly, spread the defense out. Brady had Moss, but Moss wasn't the type of receiver that would go out and cut across the middle, 20 yards. He'd go deep, or he'd stop, and Brady would hit him. But these two quarterbacks, again, Brees and Rodgers, they have three receivers at least who can just go out there and spread the defense. It's much easier when the defense is spread. Brady's, a lot of Brady's, people think that his passes to Welker, short passes are easy. They're not. It's all condensed. The defensive players are all condensed in an area. He's making those quick passes to Welker. So it's a lot more difficult for Brady. He's much smarter than both of those quarterbacks.
Well, I'm reading a book right now by Ron Jaworski called The Games That Changed the Game. And it starts back in the 60s with the Patriots against the Chargers in the AFC Championship in 1963. And believe it or not, I remember that game all too well because I was so distraught. San Diego absolutely annihilated the Patriots. They had Lance Allworth, who was one of my favorite players, Keith Lincoln. San Diego scored 31 points in the first half and destroyed the Patriots 51-10.
Paul Lowe on that team, too?
Paul Lowe was on that team. Don Norton, Tobin Rote was the quarterback. They had Ron
Who's the
Mix.
big lineman, defensive lineman?
Can't remember his name. Maybe it'll come to me. Earl Faison, maybe?
No.
He was
Ernie
one of them.
Ladd wasn't with them, right?
Yeah, Ernie Ladd
Yeah,
was one.
Yeah.
So the Chargers were really good. Anyway, but Gilman revolutionized the game. And now, for example, they said if the first 15 plays of the game, you may see 15 different formations, different guys in motion. The defense only has a rough idea of what's going to be coming at them. And the Patriots made the point this year that more than half the game is played with substitute defenses on the field. And you need to have 5 or 6 cornerbacks now. You just can't have 2 cornerbacks. That's not how it works. You have 3 to start because most teams have a guy in the slot. And the game is very wide open.
If the Patriots stay healthy, reasonably healthy, I mean, everybody has injuries in football. I mean, they're just going to dominate teams this year. I think by far they're going to have the best team in football this year. With the pickups they've had, the drafts, they're going to have a solid defense now. Their offense is just going to get better and better on. As long as, players like Gronkowski, Hernandez stay healthy, Brady's the key. Lloyd.
Well, there's a lot of talk on the national scene that somehow Belichick's lost his fastball. He's old. Most coaches have, there are very few coaches that have won the Super Bowl after age 60. I'm not sure, though. I think Belichick is a guy who evolves.
I mean, anybody who watches football, I mean, they played their best game against the Giants. I mean, the Giants were picked by everybody to beat the Patriots.
The defense, that is.
Right. I mean, even the offense moved the ball at times in that game. I mean, they had some bad.
Right.
Gronkowski wide open, Brady missed them.
Well, they made too many mistakes.
And then Welker dropping the ball. But, Ron, their game plan was to strip the ball. They stripped it 3 times. One time they had 12 men on the field. The other 2 times the Giants got the ball. Ninkovich jumping offside on a 3rd down pass, and the Giants would have had a punt from the 10-yard line.
Well, if you said, what's your biggest concern about the Patriots? Mine is offensive line. I just don't know who's coming back, who's not coming back.
Is Waters back? I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that he's back. I haven't heard that he's retiring either.
Well, the key is, Solder's going to be at left tackle.
Left tackle.
And
Mankins is still coming off surgery.
Right, and Copen's back at center, so they have Conley. Conley right now, he's going to be the sub, and he's a great offensive lineman, so he'll fill in anyway. Vollmer is the key. Is Vollmer's back going to be all right? He was out a lot last year because of his back. If he's back solid, you got two guys 6'8" playing both tackles.
Well, you just said if 14 times.
And Cannon's another one.
No, they have a lot of big bodies. We just have to hope that everybody's healthy enough to be successful. And I don't know that they're going to throw for 5,000 yards this season. I think they have young running backs and they want to run the ball more.
I'm hoping Vereen is healthy, because with Vereen and Ridley, they're going to have 2, strong running backs, and Vereen's quicker than Ridley. And we saw how quick Ridley was last year.
Now, back to the Celtics. First of all, the big move they had to make, above all, is bringing back Garnett. Garnett anchors the defense, and he's going to be so important in tutoring the younger guys on how to play defense in the NBA. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, this is just basketball. It's one-on-one. Any moron can play basketball. The NBA is not like that. There's a lot of cerebral elements to it.
If things go right, again, if Sullinger, if Rivers does these 2 things, play Sullinger, and then this is with Bradley coming back, you have Rondo and Bradley at point. Those 2 guys can play with any guards in basketball in the league. But you have Pierce. If Rivers just puts Sullinger at power forward, playing with Garnett and learning from Garnett, we were talking about that today. He'll be so strong by mid-season, Sullinger, playing with Garnett and learning how to play the D. Because Sullinger, he's always been the key guy on Ohio State. He's the guy to stop, double team him, try to keep him off the block. Playing with the Celtics, when they play that spread offense with Rondo with the ball, he's going to get so many. Think of all the opportunities Bass had last year. He's going to have all these, and he's stronger rebound and he's stronger down low.
Well, Sullinger, in addition to being a really good scorer, he's an excellent rebounder, both ends, and he's very good interior passing. So he can really, he's a good passer, much like, it's not fair to say like Garnett, but he's a good passer.
But that's another big reason why, Garnett, the Celtics really wanted Garnett back, working with him. And Fab Melo a little. I don't know about, I think Fab Melo is going to take him a couple of years, but they don't really just need him to play a couple minutes here or there for them. But
yeah.
I think Sullinger is just going to be a star. And then I want to see more play. I want to see Rivers give Moore a chance.
Well, you got Moore, Jason Terry, Bass, they've
Green.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Green. So, Green is another guy who can compete for time.
But you have Sullinger starting at the 4, right? Again. Now you're bringing in off the bench Terry, Moore, Bass, Green. You leave Sullinger or Garnett, and Garnett will be coming out. Maybe Sullinger to play some.
How would you feel about this? Everybody in the whole world is going to say that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Start Green, play him 6 minutes, bring Pierce in as the 6th man to really, spark you off the bench.
Well, we talked about that last year. You want to, bring one of your better offensive players in because you have enough offense where you don't need everybody, all 5 of them in there at once.
Right.
That's why I'm saying Bass with his outside shot a little coming in with Green and Terry. But, they're going to have a great bench. And then who knows about Johnson?
Right.
And Joseph's a guy I really like, Ron.
Well, Joseph's had a real good game today. It's terrible when we talk about Orlando Summer League, but Joseph had 17 points today, I think in 29 minutes.
He's a player.
And they said he really showed aggressiveness, had some steals, and looks like he's a guy who wants to compete for at least making the team.
This could be the deepest team and the most fun team that Rivers has coached, really, when you think about it. You got guys like Johnson at the end of the bench. Who knows about Moore? I don't know if they're going to sign Lee. They're looking at that. But
we like to watch younger guys develop, and there's a potential to see some of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about buying another 12-game package now. I always like watching the young players. I'm going to love watching Sullinger playing. Joseph, I like. I don't know about Fab Melo. It may take him a year. He's young. But I think the best thing, quickly about Allen, what I want to say, what people are saying about Allen, he's going to have a ton of open shots with Miami. He's not going to. Number one, who's going to set picks for him like the Celtics do? Is
LeBron James.
Is LeBron James going to set picks?
I don't think so.
I know. And then fast breaking. Who's going to fast break like Rondo did and let everybody float through and then hit Allen for a wide open three-pointer? How many times did Rondo do that? And another thing what people say, I was a bigger fan of Allen than I was of Rondo, but I saw every Celtic game. Rondo never froze out Allen. I don't ever remember Rondo not giving the ball to Allen when he was open. And it might have happened a couple of times during the whole season. And Allen's over there complaining that Rondo doesn't get me the ball at times. Who is he to? Number one, he's got to work off 3 picks to get open, unless Rondo's fast breaking and he kicks it back out to him.
Well, he obviously, at this point in his career, he can't create for himself.
No, Terry can.
Terry can. Terry's averaged about 15 points a game for the last 3 years.
Off the bench.
Yeah, he's a good player, and
he can play the point.
When they beat Miami to win the NBA championship, it was Terry as much as Nowitzki that was responsible.
And that little guard, the guard from the Spanish guard. What's his name?
I know who you mean, the one from Northeastern,
Barea. Barea. He had a terrific finals, too. But you look at that, Allen's going to be shocked because, again, the game plan is going to be when they defend Miami, let's let LeBron shoot from the outside with Wade and don't let Allen shoot. So now if that's the game plan and they're keeping a player on Allen and he can't get that shot off, who's going to set picks?
Well,
the Celtics set great picks for him.
And I digress. Shortly we'll have the Olympics in London, and we have people mouthing off, specifically Kobe Bryant, that this year's team is just as good as the Dream Team. Conversely, Charles Barkley, who was 29 years old when he played on the Dream Team, says, "Are you out of your mind? There's only 3 guys, Kobe, LeBron, and Durant, that could even make that team."
Kobe is one of the best players I've ever seen. Jordan would eat him up. Jordan couldn't cover Kobe. I mean, he could away from. I mean, LeBron James against Jordan. LeBron wouldn't be able to cover it. Kobe wouldn't be able to cover him. Jordan would just eat him up. But defensively, if Jordan had to cover LeBron, I think LeBron would be a little too physical for him. Jordan probably wouldn't cover him. But Jordan would destroy Kobe.
Well, the amazing thing about the Dream Team was they had guys who willingly gave up their game just to play together and hammer other teams.
Oh, they had, like we said,
Karl Malone,
yeah, every one of them
Drexler.
is going to made the Hall of Fame except for Leitner, the one college player.
Right, that's the big trivia question. Which player on the Dream Team didn't make the Hall of Fame? And that was Christian Leitner, who was a Duke standout.
But I'll tell you one thing, Ron. I saw the trials. I saw the swimming trials, and I saw the track and field. The Olympics are going to be a lot of fun this year. I mean, there's some real stars that are coming out. I mean, especially swimming and track and field. Gymnastics, we have a girl from Needham who's one of the top gymnasts who's, and they're picked to win the gold medal, the American female gymnastics team. So it's going to be a lot of fun watching. I just love the Olympics anyway.
Well, despite the Red Sox ruining our summer, there'll be something else to watch.
And the Celts will be one of the top 3 teams in the NBA this year.
And the Patriots must be opening up training camp is it a week?
I think it's the end of the month.
Okay, very soon.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Labella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.